How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Gauntlet of Gaming, where these hands are rated E for everyone. My name is Malik.
My name is Santiago.
I'm Francis.
And today we've got a fairly short, straight to the point podcast for you today. We will be talking about our gaming hopes for 2020. But before we get to that, do not forget to subscribe to the Gauntlet of Gaming if you were listening to us on YouTube. Yeah. We have more than just the podcast. We have gameplay videos that have been happening now. So check them out. We've been doing some pretty fun stuff when it came to Star Wars. And we have some future plans for February that I think you're going to have a lot of enjoyment with. And yeah, don't forget to follow us on social media. Instagram is where we normally post when our videos are going up. We also have a page on Facebook, but it's Facebook.
Page on Facebook.
It's just
it's there.
It exists for those who view it. And yeah, if you ever want to send us anything like image-wise or video-wise, Twitter is the best place to send it. It's got the best quality. So make sure you send it to _Gauntlet with a 4 instead of an A. Again, I know it's complicated. I'm sorry. Someone stole it before us. As we say where I'm from, it be like that sometimes.
It be like that all the time.
It do be like that all the time. So, question of the day for the audience listening. What do you hope will happen in the year 2020 when it comes to gaming? We're in a new year. Things can change. Unfortunately, we've already heard about delays that are happening. So this is just further proof that when it comes to gaming, things can change and alter at random and sometimes without warning. So what do you hope will happen in this crazy year, this new decade of gaming, as we are going to call it? But enough about you, the audience. Now it's time to talk about us, the Gauntlet.
Yeah. We're clearly more
It's about
important
us. Yeah.
So let's talk about our hopes for the year of 2020. So the way this is going to work is we're going to do it in waves of 3. So each wave we will list off one of our hopes and talk a little bit about it. And then at the end of basically the circle of the 3 of us, we will come back around, go into round 2, and then talk about our second hope and then move on from there. Pretty simple, pretty straight to the point. This should probably be one of the shortest podcasts I think we've ever had or ever will have for a while. So without further ado, round 1, wave 1, ding ding, is going to be really short anyways, because I think Santi and I share the same hope, like the same major hope. We've expressed it multiple times on this channel. So before we jump into us screaming about the same thing over and over again, we want to go over to Francis. What was that?
I'm getting ready.
Oh, Lord. So Francis, 2020, new year, new decade, new realm of gaming. What's your first hope?
Everyone better get their... Can I say it?
Get their crap. There, you can say crap.
They better get their crap together. I mean, obviously E3 doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Rip E3.
What is E3 anymore? Honestly.
Not the Electronic Entertainment Expo, that's for sure.
Unfortunately.
Game Awards. All of them.
All of them. What do you mean? What do you mean by get their crap together?
Like, it seems like they're losing the... What would you call it? The ones that, make the stuff and then pitch it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's basically where they pitch it out, right?
Yeah.
So the publishers.
Or are you talking to developers?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. They're pretty much just missing the people who made the events were the events.
It seems like they're dropping out of those events, and I hope they get them back. I mean,
why do you want them back?
Because these are things that mean stuff to games and gamers.
Interesting.
E3 used to be like the gaming event of the year.
I mean, yeah, it used to be gaming Christmas.
Now it's just a complete joke.
Yeah, but I think the problem with it is also just the fact that it's like this feeling of anticipation. Like, here's the thing, like with disappointment, right?
Yeah.
You're not disappointed by something that you expected to suck. That's just how disappointment works. Usually it's being let down by something you're hyped for. And for me personally, it's like, I agree, gaming industry needs to get its crap together. But the return to things like E3 and Game Awards for our announcements, I'm kind of not too much of a fan about that. Because it's been too many times where I've like sat down and I told everyone like, shut up, like I can't hang out with you. E3's happening. And it's like, announcement that I've been waiting so long for happened. And it doesn't. And it's like,
But I mean, I still remember when, like, even though Render was coming, when they announced Mass Effect 3 at one of the E3s.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, the hype was unreal.
But it was a different landscape for gaming back then.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But like you say that, but it's like, that was like what 4 or 5 years ago.
Hey, it only takes 1 year to change a lot. We saw how different things were with gaming from 2018 to 2019.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. But get their crap together, huh?
Yeah.
I could, yeah.
Get rid of all this corporate greed in the publishers.
Oh
EA,
my gosh.
Activision, Bethesda.
Yeah, the devil needs to get out of gaming. Seriously.
Me too. I need to get my crap together.
You just it is both a gaming hope and a personal hope. I need to get my life together.
Pretty much.
Oh man.
I need to fix myself.
We all have to fix ourselves, but it's a part of the growing process. Speaking of growth, one thing that's really grown when it came to like the fan base of gaming, it's always been there, but it's finally become that big thing. And this is the thing I think Santi and I are really hyped for.
We do it again.
Oh, good God. We did it once, so we do it again. 3, 2, 1.
Kill
Oh my gosh. Oh, son.
That felt bad.
Oh
I thought
my
we were going
God.
to say the whole thing.
Are we supposed to say the old? Okay,
Redo.
this is awkward.
This feels bad.
This feels really bad.
We messed
Just
that up.
forget
We
that
did.
happened.
Oh my gosh.
Because we said the whole thing last time.
I figured we did, and I thought we could just say, you know what? All right, full thing, countdown, 3, 2, 1. Killer Instinct 2020. Okay, there we go. We fixed it. But yeah, I mean, it's
It feels bad. The awkwardness going to be there.
hey, we're human. But I mean, it's doesn't matter. KI 2020. I could talk all day about it. But what makes you want KI 2020 to be a big hope for 2020?
Killer Instinct is just one of the fighting games I have the most fun with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not good at it by any means. I fight with auto combos. Malik knows what's up. It's just so enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Like other fighting games, I get burned out with, and like I'm like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this. It's really repetitive. But with like KI, it's like let's go play some KI. You've had me at KI.
And you know what? That's the thing is I feel like a lot of people who know us, who may like watch or listen to our content, hears us talk about KI so much, and they'll never really like go out of their way to watch it. I think we should put some KI gameplay on the channel.
I agree.
We need to show them the music, the motion, the animation, the characters. Like,
and like even though it usually ends with me getting bodied, I still love hearing Ultra Combo.
Right? Like, oh my goodness. And the thing about it is, it's like, if it's a new KI, that means that we may get even more enhanced versions of the music. The sound may be even crazier. And the thing about it is the fact that with so much great things that they did with KI, I think it came out in 2016.
It was a launch title on the Xbox One,
so it came out around that time. It just did so much right that if I was held at gunpoint and someone was like, "You're only allowed to play one fighting game for the rest of your life," what would it be? And I had to choose. It probably would be Killer Instinct, just because the fact that, and it's not even the auto combos, as it is more just like it's a game that makes me want to try all the characters because they're personality types and they're done so well. Like, I love Marvel vs. Capcom so much. People know this, but KI is the game where it's like you and I will pair up, Santi, and we'll just do randoms.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who we get for randoms, we're still having a good time. If that was the same case for Marvel, I'd been like, oh crap.
No, I got this character.
Yeah. And it's just like or same thing with Street Fighter. Like, KI is that game where it's like I don't have a main because I have fun with everybody.
I'm better with certain characters than other characters, but like I still enjoy playing all the characters.
And it's that game where it's like losing doesn't feel bad because you got to do something cool. Because you're fighting like some top tier guy online, and out of nowhere you combo break him after like losing your entire like life bar to like basically a one hit combo, and you're like, I just combo broke this guy. All right, we're doing something good, boys. Like, it's just everything just comes together.
When you pull off like a counter combo or like the Shadow Breaker combos,
everything just sounds so good. So yeah, that obvious KI 2020, definitely a hope for this year. And even if it's not a hope for this year, I would like to see it maybe by 2021. You know, relatively soon. Especially with the next generation of consoles on the horizon. Now is the time to hype us up.
Bring back Killer Instinct.
Yes, please. All right. So that was the first wave of us going through points. And now it's time for wave 2. We'll bring it back to you, Francis. What's your second one?
It's funny that you said the Horizon.
Oh,
Here we go.
God.
Because Horizon Zero Dawn 2 would be nice. Probably on the PS5. Kind of like what you said on the Horizon.
Oh, gosh.
I'm gonna spam that. So Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the potential in the first game going to the second game is already great. Photo mode in the first game was, I can't emphasize it enough, it was amazing. I've spent probably an extra 100, maybe even maybe even 200 hours just for photo mode. No lie, I have like almost 1,000 photos, screenshots. I'll share some more on the Twitter. The _ Gauntlet. Okay. Anyway, the one thing I can hope for in that game, maybe more dynamic fighting styles. Maybe.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that the combat could definitely get bolstered a little bit.
I mean, because understanding the story, it was like their tribal thing, so they use the bow a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, she has a spear. Maybe make use of it more. And then also Ashley Burke. She's cool.
She is, yeah. Top tier actress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. But yeah, no, perfect. Horizon 2. I mean, I still have yet to play Horizon 1. And
I should play it.
You'll chastise me. But I'll enjoy it.
I haven't played it either, so.
So this is going to be it'll be a family bonding experience.
I'll have the popcorn.
But yeah, no, I definitely want to get around to playing Horizon 1 because I've heard so many great things about it. And I won't use the photo mode as much as you, that's for sure. That honor goes to Jedi Fallen Order. But
Jedi Fallen Order's photo mode was kind of crazy.
It was kind of interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of options to play around with.
Oh,
you really
yeah.
like it, Francis.
You'd be very interested by it. But no, I definitely have to get around to it because if 2 does end up coming out, it seems like Aloy could be a front runner for being kind of like the new face of Sony right now. And so I want to play the game and kind of see how that's going. But yeah,
that's a big word for it.
Hey,
I mean, there are a lot of big faces for Sony.
There are, but right now the 2 juggernaut games that seem to be talked about a lot when it comes to Sony would be like The Last of Us, or God of War and Horizon. Like those 3 games are up there when you talk Sony gaming, and so I don't know, but we'll see. I'm excited. I'm very interested to see what happens. I may not play it when it first comes out, but I would like to see Horizon 2. All right, Santi, what you got?
I want an announcement for a new Mass Effect game.
Interesting.
It doesn't need to be Andromeda 2 because I hate the first Andromeda and I still haven't beat it because of how broken that game was. like I stopped, my character fell from the map and I was like, I'm done. I can't put up with this anymore. But like even just like maybe a game, we've talked about this before.
Of course.
A game about like the Contact Wars.
Yeah.
Or like even just about like Turian history or just any other part of the Mass Effect universe. It doesn't need to be Shepard. It really, really, really doesn't need to be Ryder.
Yeah.
But just like expand on the lore, like make a game out of it because there's so much like I spent hours sitting there reading through the codex about all the Mass Effect lore, and there's plenty of material there for them to make a game out of.
Yeah,
it'd be so good.
Yeah, I mean, Mass Effect used to be one of my greatest loves. It used to be up there with Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy, and it definitely has been taking an unfortunate decline thanks to Andromeda. But I think with the announcement of a 5th Mass Effect game, that was pretty hype. But I kind of just want to see more. And I know BioWare is capable of showing us more, but also just Anthem was not something that did well for their reputation.
That was more EA's fault.
But it wasn't. It was actually a BioWare problem.
No, it was a Bioware problem. Like EA's the one who forced them to do a games as a service looter shooter.
Yeah, but mechanics though and story, that's a BioWare problem.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
EA should never force them to do a games as a service when that's not what they're known for. That's not what they do.
it's not, but I still think from a story perspective they can improve to work around it. It's hey, I'm not a developer.
A lot of the original like Mass Effect staff also left.
Yeah. So that's why so that I'm not in development, so I can't even speak on that.
Like
but
all like the Twitter like posts of just Mass Effect or BioWare staff just constantly leaving.
Yeah. And I mean that happens with a lot of people too. So I'm hoping that we can see a healthy staff mentality when it comes to not just BioWare but anywhere else too. But for me it's like with a new Mass Effect game, I would love to be able to play the campaign with friends.
That would be
that's my thing. I would really like to do that. And still enjoy it like a single player experience. Like Halo does something like that with Reach, where you're able to enjoy it as a single player experience, but you can also enjoy it with friends. I would really like something like that. I think it would be able to bring that bond of Mass Effect even closer for those who basically just grew up loving the game. Because there's so many couples. Like what brought them together was Mass Effect. How cool would it be to be able to play Mass Effect campaign with your significant other?
Or especially if there's an option to pick what race you play as.
That too, yeah. Just expand it even further. So, no, I'm definitely excited for that one. Scared. Not scared, but I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic.
I want to play as the Hanar.
Santi, there's a door. Get out of here. Jeez. You are definitely the troll of the group.
But with the Hanar Spectre is so cool.
No, we do not talk about the Hanar Spectre.
But it's so cool.
No, not in my house. Not today. Gosh.
This is a Christian stream.
Yeah.
How dare you bring up the Hanar in my good Christian neighborhood?
Well, speaking of neighborhood, I want to kind of get to my second hope for the year, and it kind of goes alongside Francis's hope, which you wanted to have a new, the Horizon 2, which means that we get more Aloy. And with Aloy being a PlayStation exclusive character, it's kind of a shame that we don't really get to see her interact with other exclusive characters like we've seen in the past. And I think that something that would be really beneficial, and this is something I've also said before, it's interesting because a lot of what we say may just be repetition for future podcasts, unfortunately, but a PlayStation All-Stars with all new exclusive characters would be a really fantastic thing to happen in 2020, and I really hope it does, because we just recently got the announcement of Byleth being in Smash Bros, and whether you liked it or you didn't like it, one thing that came from the Smash Direct was Sakurai talking about how Smash Bros wasn't a fighting game, but how it was a celebration game. It was a game that celebrated gaming. And I thought that was a very powerful thing to hear him say, because we live in a time where so many people are like, oh, well, it's good for a shooting game, or oh, it's good for a fighting game, or it's this kind of game and it's that kind of game. And it's like, does it matter? Like, it's a video game. It's meant to bring us together, not create turmoil. And so I think it's time that we do the same thing for PlayStation, where we just bring those PlayStation icons together again for a revamped, way better combat experience with those characters. Because the thing for me is, it's like, and I've expressed multiple times, I don't have the time or money to play all these fantastic PlayStation exclusives. So I'm missing out on these characters like Kratos from the new God of War. Fantastic. Like, unfortunately, I don't get to play as him, but just watching him, hearing him, it's fantastic. But you know how I would be able to play as him?
Boy.
Yeah. That's his special boy. And he just throws a trace at someone. Like, there's so many fun things that you can do with the characters and allow people... It would allow people to play a character who they may enjoy and may have even more of a reason to buy that game. Like, I would be super happy for that. Because, I mean, granted, I already have Horizon Zero Dawn, but to play as Aloy in a fighting game and just be like, I like the way this character works. I like how she looks. I like how she sounds. You know what? I'm gonna get Horizon Zero Dawn just because I enjoy it. It happens sometimes. So that's my second hope. So we'll see. Is it gonna happen? Probably not, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see that.
Yeah,
It would be a good launch title.
it definitely would be a good
PS5.
yeah, like oh man, KI on one console, PlayStation All Stars on another console. It'd be really nice. Or they go back and just port PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale from PS3 to PS4.
I mean, I would like a clean remake.
I mean,
remaster.
I don't even care about a remaster. I just want to be able to play it with a more comfortable controller.
That's true.
Because the PS3 controller is not easy to play games with when you get older and become an adult. So, sorry, big hands. You'd help me not this time. So now let's move on to the third wave. So our final thing, and we're gonna go back to you again, Francis.
Okay, so I got a thing here. It's about remakes.
Mm-hmm.
So remakes are different from remastered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, as an example, movies. There have been a lot of movie remakes. Disney, for example.
Unfortunately.
Although Mulan looks pretty good.
Even I'm kind of
Yeah.
I've always been kind of about those remakes, and I'm kind of starting to get that way about the game remakes.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Final Fantasy VII remake, Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm not gonna lie, they look good.
Mm-hmm.
They were good. Also, like in the old games, but I hope it doesn't become too big of a thing where it starts to seem like a money grab.
Got you. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and not just because of sentimental value or reminiscence of an old game that people love.
Yeah.
And then seeing it in higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So it's basically hoping that how the film industry is handling properties is not carrying over to gaming. I get that.
See,
to an extent.
I don't mind remakes like FF7 or RE2.
Mm-hmm.
Or like even Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Because they remade the games from the ground up and expanded upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Those remakes are a love letter to the originals.
Yeah.
Now, what I hate are the cash grab remasters.
Exactly.
That are just complete garbage and they're janky and they don't work on new consoles. They don't update any of the controls, any of the mechanics,
mm-hmm.
and it feels horrible trying to play them on new consoles.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, for me, remake culture is kind of something that I'm not really big on, like especially in cinema, because the thing for me is like when it comes to a film, even the older films that were like really hard to sit through just because of the quality of them, they're still classics and you can still enjoy them if you really wanted to watch the film. But remaking them, especially remaking an animated film, it's like, why? The magic is always still going to be there for an animated film. And for video games, what I think is different about it is the fact that the remake is more of a, you didn't get to grow up when this was the maximum peak of quality, so let's bring you that same story experience, or at least the same, some of the same beats, but for a more modern audience. And for me, that's very prevalent with like FF7 remake, because with the RE remakes, I'm not the biggest fan of them. Like, I'm not saying they're not good, but I wouldn't say that they're necessary, to be honest. And I could get hate for it, later on, but that's just my honest opinion. Like, I don't think they were necessary, because I think the old RE games are still playable, and a lot of people still enjoy the originals just as much, if not more, than the remakes. But for something like Final Fantasy VII, as much as it has a great story mechanic to it, the unfortunate thing is it is the ugliest Final Fantasy game
it is hard to look at.
Yeah. Granted, for the time when people played it, it was an advancement that no one could ever see coming. But then you see the game that came after it, and you see the game that came before it, and they're both really clean in how they were presented. Granted, 8 needed to be buffed up a little bit for modern consoles, but you don't see a Final Fantasy 8 remake ever going to happen. Please don't make a Final Fantasy 8 remake happen. Yeah. It doesn't need it. But 7, I felt really needed that remake, because even though the original version is on all consoles now, like I have it on the Switch and on my PC, the hard thing about it is it's just hard to look at sometimes. The models look good when you're in combat, but out of combat it's like,
it's very chunky.
Very polygon heavy. And nothing against the game. Like, it's a great game, but
it is a product of its time. But like by modern standards, it is hard to look at.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, though.
I understand what you're saying too. Like, some games deserve a remake, but just not like every single thing.
Not everything. Yeah. Like, oh, good lord.
Basically, that's what I meant.
If I find out that they're doing like a Street Fighter or a not Street, like an original Street Fighter remake, it's like, why?
OG Street Fighter sucked.
It's like, please just don't. I don't see it happening, but I'm sure some crazy madman out there is like, what if I was able to just remake the original Street Fighter? Let's do it. We'll make a lot of money.
If you feel the need to remake a Street Fighter, at least make it Third Strike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
and it also depends on the games, I think.
I agree.
Like, for example, I'll bring up Metal Gear Solid again. In Metal Gear Solid 1, obviously, over the head, old school. Metal Gear Solid 4, it's like you go back to that area.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't spoil anything. But you go back to the same map of Metal Gear Solid 1, and then you see everything 3D. I don't think Metal Gear Solid 1 needs a remake then at that point, because they went back to it.
Yeah.
So it also sort of depends on the game.
And in some games, the way it was presented is the way that people should play it. Like, I think the original Metal Gear Solid 1, going through the mission Shadow Moses, it's like, we need to remake it so that way it's more high quality and high fidelity. No, you don't. Yeah. It's a legacy. That's the thing. People are trying so hard to. It's nostalgia. That's what it is. It's toxic nostalgia. We're clinging so hard onto what we know was successful in the past because we're like, well, if it was successful back then, it'll still be successful now. The problem is you can only remake the same thing over and over again before people just don't want it anymore. Don't believe me? Look at Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball has not gotten to a point in gaming where people are like, we're literally playing the same story over and over again. I'm out. I'm good. Like, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, even though it looks super good, the problem is the big conversation is why. Like, everyone's big question is why. So
why redo Z?
Again.
When they could do Super.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with any other game. So I agree.
Like, I mean, I'm still gonna play it, but like, I'm not gonna pay full price for it.
Yeah.
I actually have a question about Dragon Ball.
What's up?
Why don't they make a fighting game when Goku was a kid?
Because it's not.
OG Dragon Ball is very silly.
It's very silly, and it's very for fighting game wise. That's more of like a Mugen. Like, you would just get sprite characters for something like that.
Like,
they're not over the top enough for modern fighting games.
It's original Dragon Ball, when they did have the fights, were very much like between actual fighters. It was actually still very much focused on the martial arts of it.
Yeah.
And like, they had like just some of the ridiculous, silliest moves, like Tien's volleyball fist.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Or Goku's Kamehameha.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing and also the thing about it is the fact that you have to understand also that Dragon Ball is like original Dragon Ball for gamers and anime fans is kind of one of those like hipster things where it's like you only know it if you knew it. Like, you only watched it if you watched it. No one's going back in 2020 and saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go rewatch the original Dragon Ball because it's one of the greatest anime versions ever.
If anything, you rewatch the World Tournament where he fights Piccolo,
and that's about it. Yeah, and the thing is, most common modern Dragon Ball does like a flashback, anyways. So yeah, you're never gonna see a game of that anytime soon. Maybe a fan made game, like a fan made game, but a fully professional developed game, nah, probably.
The last like Dragon Ball game, I think, was Advanced Tactics, and that was like a Game Boy game.
Yeah, and oh god, was it so hard to play. I still have flashbacks.
I mean, it was still fun.
Yeah. At points. Alright, speaking of fun, Santi, I hope you have something fun for your third point.
It's a little bit of fun, a little bit of suffering, and a little bit of, I guess, the 5 stages of death. I would very much like a Switch port of Majora's Mask.
I think that would be very necessary. Yeah.
I would love it. They've already remastered it from 3DS. Right? I know people have complaints about the remaster and how it takes away from the original version. I'm okay with that. If I want to play the original version, I'll just pull out my N64.
Yeah.
Like, the remaster for me makes it a lot more playable and a lot more accessible and easier to enjoy.
Yeah.
And so I would very much love just a port of that on my Switch and being able to play it on the big screen again and looking better than the original version.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, even though I love Breath of the Wild, but Majora's Mask is still my favorite just because of how, like, I guess, dark and the themes present in it, and how it brings in the themes of loss, denial, sacrifice compared to any of the other Legend of Zelda games. I absolutely love it. Even if it's not the longest, there's plenty of like side quests that involve characters. They all have character arcs. They have personalities. It's a lot of fun. It's my favorite Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the audience is there for that. When it comes to something like the Switch, Breath of the Wild definitely blew people away. And I think having more Zelda games that are a part of like the legacy of great Zelda moments, Majora's Mask is definitely up there. And it's also the point that I think a lot of people didn't get to experience Majora's Mask when they were younger because we have a new audience of like Legend of Zelda fans who are growing up. And so it's like you hear about Majora's Mask, you see a lot of people do art about Majora's Mask, but it's like, did you really experience it? And I think coming to the Switch would be a great idea for it because it'll be profitable. And granted, I hate when I have to double up on games that I've already bought before, but it's like for fans of Legend of Zelda, it's just like I think the precedence is there for them to really have
already
it.
announced Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah.
And they have a precedence of just porting the old games when they announce a new Legend of Zelda game. So they absolutely should port Majora's Mask, and it still blows me away how good it is. And that was made in like a year tops.
Yeah, I agree. My thing with that is hopefully they just don't pull a Link's Awakening where they completely change the aesthetic style of it.
Oh, I don't think they would do that. Link's Awakening, I don't mind what they did with Link's Awakening because like it'd be kind of hard to keep the aesthetic from the 2D version.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind that, especially since the whole Link's Awakening thing is like it's a dream.
Yeah.
So I think they may not have kept like the art aesthetic of Link's Awakening from like the original one, but I think they kept the overall theme aesthetic of it.
Gotcha. I think if they're going to move or if they're going to port Majora's Mask to Switch, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Ocarina of Time also isn't on Switch.
I don't think it is.
So I think it should be both of them. I think they both should be there because they're both like iconic Legend of Zelda games that a lot of people who may not be Legend of Zelda fans have definitely experienced. Because like for myself, for instance, like I'm definitely not a Legend of Zelda fan, but I still remember my childhood growing up with Ocarina of Time and it being one of the greatest Zelda games I had played up until my experience with Twilight Princess. So yeah, I think those two both deserve.
And not even just for the franchise itself, but how iconic of a game Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is in terms of the whole industry.
Exactly.
Like that is a generation-defining game.
Yeah.
Just like Final Fantasy VII.
I agree. But yeah, no, I'm hoping for that too. That'd be really exciting, and it may even give me an excuse to go back and play Legend of Zelda games because I'm not the biggest fan of Legend of Zelda, which means that I wasn't the biggest fan for Breath of the Wild, and I still haven't played it. I haven't touched it once, but I think with those classics coming back, it may get me to play something I'm familiar with. It may inspire me to even play Breath of the Wild and
it's
Breath of the Wild.
It's also only the only one where you really get to play as the other races. Like there are like armors and equipment that give you the same abilities. But Majora's Mask, you get to transform through the use of the masks into the other races, and like the designs for how they incorporate Link's outfit is great.
Perfect. So yeah, hopefully, hey, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited for that. I'd be hyped to see it. So yeah, and then that comes back down to me and my third choice for my hope for 2020. And I'd say it's a justified hope for 2020, but I'm not holding my breath about it really at the moment right now. And that's the not even the release, but at least the announcement of a new Marvel vs. Capcom. Because as great gameplay wise as Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is, we're still missing out on the perfect Marvel vs. Capcom experience. Like, you and I, Santi, have been playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 every now and then at your house. Good. And it feels amazing. And the thing about it is I'm not asking for Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to come back, but what I'm just saying is there isn't another Marvel game that makes me feel that way. Because I played 3 again, and I was like, I'm not getting the same magic.
No, three is fun and I really enjoy it, but like it doesn't feel like the way two. Like I'm sure a big part of it is nostalgia for me,
Possibly, yeah.
but like just going into the menu and just hearing that music and
Yeah.
take you for a ride. Oh my gosh!
It hits. And the thing about it too is it's not even just two, it's infinite. Like you and I were part of the bandwagon of, oh god, Infinite is terrible. We're never gonna buy it. We're never gonna play it. And now that I've been playing Infinite, I can't stop enjoying it more than three. And it hurts me to say that,
Like
but
I admit that like Infinite's gameplay is good.
yeah,
As a fighting game, it is a good fighting game.
yeah,
But it also feels very like corporate greed is a lot in
I
there.
agree. Yeah,
And it doesn't feel like an MVC game.
it doesn't, and that's why I think we're here at a point now where Marvel needs to do something. We just wrapped up Endgame, which means that we don't really get a big collaboration with Marvel superheroes anymore for a good amount of time. And a Marvel vs. Capcom game is a great way to keep that hype going and just creating scenarios where we could see characters who we didn't get to see interact in the MCU interact in the game form. And it's like, it say I think in the perspective of corporate, it's like if you really want to make money, that's a great way to make some money from your Marvel characters.
And stop trying to force the whole MCU aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because Marvel vs. Capcom is supposed to be flashy. It's stylish.
Yeah.
There's the combos. It's like it's got the funky hit music.
Mm-hmm.
Use the comic book costumes.
Yeah. I think what it is they tried so hard to use modern, like what's considered modern now when it comes to the comic books. So it's like, well, when you think comic books, you don't even think about the comics anymore. You think about movies and TV shows. And it's like, no, go back to that feeling that Marvel 2 had, which was the 80s style. It had that 80s style of that funky music, the sprite. I'm not saying bring sprite animation back, but make the characters feel vibrant. Like, I'm so sick and tired of playing fighting games that take themselves too seriously.
Like, the MCU costumes are good for the MCU because they're live action.
Yeah, or make them alternative costumes, if anything. But I want something unrealistic. I want that old school flashy comic style back. And I think I want it back because it's what I get from Skullgirls, and I've been having so much fun with Skullgirls because it just has that nice, colorful aesthetic to it. It's funky, it's funny, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And with Marvel, it's like you have characters like Wesker. So a serious character in a silly game can still be a fun character because I can just have fun with my serious character if I wanted to be serious. But
like there are serious characters, but I don't think the overall feel game should be serious because it's
precisely.
Marvel versus Capcom. Like,
yeah,
you guys got like Arthur.
Yeah, freaking Arthur.
Beautiful Joe.
Yeah, like you have. That's the thing. Capcom is known for having silly characters. So stop basically nerfing the silliness of these characters. Like Dante being silly in MVCI felt off. And I feel like with a new Marvel vs. Capcom game, it sets the precedence to bring back that funny, funky feeling of Marvel.
Like Dante being like stylish and over the top and funny should not feel out of place in Marvel vs. Capcom game.
Yeah. And the thing for me is, it's like, just look at Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like, one of the things that people love about Dragon Ball FighterZ is it feels like Dragon Ball. So the same should be done with something like Marvel vs. Cap. Street Fighter, it feels like a brawling fighting game. It feels like Street Fighter. It didn't start off well with Street Fighter 5, but it's gotten there. Tekken, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on Tekken 7 and how it feels insanely good to play that game. Every fighting game has an aesthetic that makes it stand out. You consider it to be a Street Fighter-like game, a Tekken-like game, a Marvel vs. Capcom-like game. That's the reason why so many people cling to Power Rangers. Power Rangers is that game that it's not super serious, it's got silly moments, and it's a love letter to the fans. The recent update that they gave brought some music in that's just, it's Go Power Rangers, but remixed to be more appropriate for the game because they may not have had the rights to it. But that's what it is. It's a love letter. Why are fighting games trying so hard to not be a love letter anymore?
It's because they all want to be taken seriously at
the competitive level. Yeah. And the thing about that for me is, it's like you're forgetting what made the games earn money in the first place.
And
enjoyment.
You're forgetting that games like Smash is still at Evo.
Yeah. So we live in a time where they want to make everything a competitive game, and they forget that video games were designed to be fun. Just make a fun fighting game. Make Marvel. That's all I can really say to that. But yeah, so that's all I've got. You guys have anything else to add?
Not really.
Yeah.
Make gaming great again.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
make gaming great
That's a good
again. We're gonna get in so much trouble for that. I don't get paid enough for this.
But like, okay, I do have one thing to add.
What's up?
In terms of making the gaming great again. Like,
Yeah.
I've been going back and playing a lot of my old GameCube games. Like, I beat Luigi's Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of playing Paper Mario.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel so good.
Just playing those retro games.
Just like, I mean, I guess they're retro to us, but like, I guess there are a lot of older people out there that get mad at us for calling them retro.
They're not retro enough. But no, I mean, yeah, we played SSX Tricky the other night.
Like, even though it's kind of janky, it felt good.
Fun. It was great.
Fun. It feels good. It makes me happy.
Yeah. And then, you know why it made us feel happy? They weren't too serious. They were fun games.
They don't take themselves super seriously. There's not any of these microtransactions shoved down my throat. You know, like in Paper Mario, Nintendo was casually advertising a Fire Emblem game. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. And I think that's kind of the reason why so many games nowadays I don't play. Is because it's like, if I wanted to sit down and play an emotional, super serious story, I would just look in the mirror and look at my own life. Like, I don't need that. I need to escape the serious. I need to go into the fun and the wacky. And I think that's what, to speak on behalf of the Gauntlet of Gaming, I think that's what our entire hope is for 2020, is just make games fun again. Stop being too serious.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let us know in the comment section below what your hope for 2020 is in regards to gaming. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us on other platforms, I don't know how to help you.
I mean, there's comments on SoundCloud. I don't know about Spotify.
Well, they'll find a way to let us know what's up. Or you can just, bombard us on social media. No one talks to us on Instagram. But it'd be like that sometimes.
We're lonely.
But yeah, so that's been the Gauntlet of Gaming. I've been Malik.
I've been Santiago.
I'm Francis.
And remember, these hands are rated E for everyone. Later.